Oh, well, hello, my wonderful, beautiful brosies and brosas of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. It is no longer in the dead of the morning. It is 2:04 p.m. actually, and I am going to do the AquaMan one. And the AquaMan what if? What if Izuku was Aquaman? Finally. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Loki Power, I can't do it if the person and the thing I don't know about. I can't. Just letting you know that. Your little request, I like the fact that you put in the effort to make that request, but I can't do it if I not only don't know the character, but don't know anything. I think I might know something like, it might be the same thing, like, where, like, the Legend of Ragnarok, like, Ragnar Lothborn, I think his name is. Like, his whole legend, I think that's what you're talking about. But other than that, I have no freaking idea. And the only reason I know about Ragnar is because of the whole not really death battle, rap battle, epic rap battles of history. Richard the Lionheart versus Ragnar Lothborn, or whatever the frick his name is. Which, in my opinion, Ragnar freaking roasted that battle. If that makes you feel any better, Mr. Loki Power. He freaking roasted Richard the Lionheart. Like, eating you alive like the gangrene you died from. Like, damn, that is savagery. By the way, I'm gonna try to do more ERB reactions. If I can actually get it to where you guys can hear any of it. And maybe even do some death battle reactions. You won't be able to see anything, but you won't be able to see anything if I do any ERB reactions, so what's the difference? Oh, and if I try to do any death battle reactions, I will have the analysis in there, because I think the analysis is important. So, yeah. Plus, any historical accuracies or inaccuracies that I can point out, and any ERBs that I'll be reacting to in the future. Yeah. I'll try my best to point them out. Or, like, be like, oh my god, that is so cool that they actually got that in there. Just know that any of these reactions that I do, I will probably watch the video already. And, handpick these out, for certain reasons. Anyways, basically, now finally time to start the damn thing. Basically, this story is going to start out with one person, basically. All these other people, they don't believe in any of the ancient legends. But, Mr. Shota Aizawa, he may not believe in many of the legends, but there is one thing that he believes in. The legend of Atlantis. Why the legend of Atlantis? The lost city of Atlantis?
Come in here and check on my boy. That's all.
If you guys can see that, that's my dad.
Thank God.
I don't know why you have that, but, you know, to each his own.
SpongeBob underwear?
Yeah. What the hell was that all about? What the hell was that all about?
Are you hungry?
Not right now, no. Love you, Dad. Anyways, basically, why does Shota believe in one legend and one legend alone? And why is that legend the legend of the lost city of Atlantis? Because he has proof. What proof does he have? Well, pretty much the Atlantean princess. And I am going to use something, and I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm going to use, but I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it heavily if I want to. Basically, the lost Atlantean princess, Akira. Technically, she's only really considered lost because she's not at her home, the city of Atlantis. At least that's what she says. And considering the fact that she looks like someone who would be a fish lady, I mean, and, like, there's been a lot of proof, like, she can stay underwater for a long amount of time. Though, Aizawa, advises against it a lot because that's kind of how he found her. Almost dead. Like, washed up ashore. Washed up ashore. That's kind of how he found her, so he's kind of against that. But she can hold her hold her breath underwater for a long amount of time. And, well, she's, like, ridiculously good at swimming. And she can even do all these freaking weird-ass tricks underwater. And she's even able to, get Aizawa a couple times to go underwater with her and have, like, some sort of underwater telekinesis talk. And Aizawa is like, he's not even an Atlantean, so he shouldn't be able to do that. But then again, this lady did say that she was the princess, so she might have just overall better powers than everybody else. That she was the Atlantean princess Akira. And basically, what she says after that, what she's basically told Aizawa is, all this stuff. And Aizawa is like, he's mulling it over. He's mulling everything over. Right now, he basically has her in the equivalent of, like, his custody. No one else pretty much knows. He just now recently told other people. And it's not very many people that he told. He told, like, Nesu, All Might, like, pretty much the rest of the staff at UA. He told, like, the staff at UA that he could trust. So that's like, he told, like, Midnight, but only because he could trust her a little, He trusted her a little, like, just enough to tell her about Akira. And also, if he tells her about Akira, she'll hopefully leave him the hell alone. Like, good God, lady, this is like the 128th text. Like, 129, 30, 31. Good God, lady. So, hopefully, if he tells, she'll leave him the frick alone. And also told, like, Mountain Lady, because, with Mountain Lady's advice, I mean, not Mountain Lady, I meant to say Recovery Girl. How did I get those two mixed up? He told Recovery Girl, Jesus Christ, I did it again. He told Recovery Girl, and that's only because with the medical advice from Recovery Girl, he could actually help patch Akira up. And with Akira patched up, that would make things a lot easier. And he basically told, like, his closest friends. Like, his closest friends in the hero profession. Like, those are the only ones he really told. The ones that he could trust, his closest friends in the hero profession, are the ones that he told. And nobody else. Now, Akira might not be 100% approving of this, considering, well, you know, from what Akira remembers before she, conked out and ended up washed up on this dry land where she met Aizawa. I mean, don't get her wrong, she really likes Aizawa as a person, as a friend. They really like each other. They're really good friends. So don't get her wrong, she really likes Aizawa, and Aizawa really likes her, but, like, the humans is what she believes are the entire reason why she's here. And in this situation to begin with, she wouldn't ever have to be in it if it wasn't for the humans, what she believes. And I can't really blame her for thinking that way. So, yeah. It's just kind of awkward. Like, really awkward. But eventually, Aizawa would come home, and Akira would be crying in her hands, and Aizawa would want to know what this was for. Basically, Akira would say that she got some sort of telepathic message that, well, basically her father, the king, basically got axed. And by one of his most loyal men, no less. And some, rogue Atlantean followers of that specific person. Yeah, basically Atlantean mutiny. And they don't even know, to make things worse, they don't even know where the guy and his followers are now. They kind of did some sort of Atlantean smoke bomb thing, to where they could get away without being detected. Yeah, basically, her father's dead now. And the whole thing about her mother's been dead for a while, actually. And she's been trying to learn to cope. But now with her father being killed, and it being like the terms of Atlantean mutiny, no less, yeah, she was working on recovering from her mother's death. And now that this has happened, Aizawa being a hero, he usually doesn't do this, but he goes to comfort Akira the best way he knows how. And he's like, damn it, if I have to do what I never wanted to do in order to help this woman, I mean, she is just now in the direst of straits. And even though I usually don't do this, I never ever felt like doing this ever in my entire life. This is an unavoidable thing. This is something that myself as a hero, day hero, night hero, whatever, I cannot just let this stand idly by. Even if I can't, go to the guy directly who killed her father, I can at least try to help pick up the pieces with Akira on land. And the best way Aizawa decides to do that is basically to be, to be the wheels for Akira, like, to be her, like, way to stand, like, to be the thing for her to stand. You know, her support. And he was already kind of that already, but now he knows he has to be that even more, because it's not just that he has to be that, it's that he wants to be that now, because it's just like heroes don't stand for that shit, like this Atlantean mutiny, and it's tearing her up apart, and she was already tore up over the death of her mother, so yeah. Aizawa isn't gonna stand for this Atlantean mutiny. He's gonna do his damnedest to help Akira, get back to where she can, whatever version of fish standing up there is. He's gonna do whatever he can. And so eventually, it just gets to a point where, the people at the Hero Association, the other heroes, the other pro heroes, they're kind of wondering, is there something more behind the scenes? Like, Aizawa says that he never really intended for this, that they're not really saying that, he's lying about not intending, but, Aizawa and Akira have been getting really close. Like, dangerously close. In the whole thing of possible relationship. Possible being a little bit more. And one of the people that pushes this the most is actually All Might. And a little bit Midnight, but not so much. But All Might being, I'm going to have him be drinking buddies with Aizawa in this as well. All Might also, pushing for this. That maybe there's more behind all this. And Aizawa will admit that he's been growing feelings. Feelings that he never thought he would ever grow. After losing his best friend, and actually starting, beginning to get into that cycle where he actually thinks his friend is dead. Actually, he hasn't just started. He's been in that cycle. Well, he just didn't want to tell anyone. And freaking All Might, and Midnight and everybody else, they're like, what? You've been that way for how long and you didn't want to tell us? Because you thought that it would be bad for us? Dude, we're your friends, we're your compadres, we're your buddies. You shouldn't have to hide shit from us. All because you're worried. And, well, Aizawa still has that whole thing. It's just still engraved in there. And that after losing his friend, which we all know now as Kirogiri, or who eventually became Kirogiri, of the League of Villains, basically, Aizawa, ever since, losing his friend, he's never been the same. And so, the thought of ever, being in a relationship again, I mean, there's having a friend, and then there's being in a relationship, like that kind of relationship. Those are two different things. And, well, Aizawa just wants to stress that out, that he doesn't know if he'll be able to do it. And that hurts him inside, because this Princess Akira lady, who's technically Queen Akira because her mother's dead now, and she hasn't even come back to her people. She's just a mess. Aizawa's a mess. But then there's this one day where All Might decides that him, along with freaking Midnight and Nesu, basically All Might along with Midnight and Nesu would come along with him, and maybe even President Mike would come along with him to meet this Princess Akira Lady of Atlantis. To meet and see the real thing. I mean, it's not like they don't trust Aizawa's word, but it would be nice to see the real thing. I mean, they trust Aizawa's word wholeheartedly. I mean, to not trust it would be just to be like a dick. Especially after all he's went through. And all this Akira ladies went through. And how they're like real good friends. Plus, they know about Aizawa losing his friend. So, what reason would there be to not trust him? And, he's gone through that, so what reason would there not be to trust him if he says this about this Atlantean princess lady, who's technically now the queen? And basically, once they get there, they realize this lady, who Aizawa apparently tells them is the princess, or now queen. And she's holding something. And, well, Aizawa, he's like, hey, what you holding? And Akira, trusts Aizawa wholeheartedly, because, they've had that time, they've had that bonding time. But even whenever Aizawa tells, Akira about these people being the people that he was talking about before, just giving her info so that she didn't freak out whenever eventually they did have to meet. Because eventually it was going to happen. Akira isn't stupid. Aizawa isn't stupid. They knew eventually it was going to happen. It was going to have to happen. If she was going to continue to stay here. On land. Which Akira likes the surface land. She actually likes it a lot. And she thinks that the more, Atlanteans that get to experience the surface land, the less of a drift there will be in between the people of Atlantis and the people of the surface land. Is what she calls it, and what the others, the other Atlanteans, call it the surface land. The more of one side gets to experience the more of the other side, the less of, this drift, this difference, this, this unfamiliarity there will be in between the two sides. And, the less of an unfamiliarity, the less of a drift, the more they can come together. As two species. As, two species becoming one. What the hell that was. But the thing is, Akira, she just lost another one of her parents, and so she's having a hard time. But eventually she does end up warming up, and, over some tea, everybody starts to calm their nerves. Eventually, at first, she was a little hostile, And, she was blasting around with whatever she had in her hand. But eventually, over some tea, everybody began to calm their nerves. Because even like the heroes, the pro heroes, were a little on edge because, this is an Atlantean person, not a surface dweller. Like two different worlds. There's like this world and this world. It's like a big divide. And so of course they would be on edge. I mean, even having Aizawa tell them everything, of course they would still be on edge. And basically, Akira would finally become comfortable telling, everybody about what exactly she was holding. What she was holding was the Trident of Poseidon. The most powerful trident. And not just the most powerful trident, but the most powerful weapon in all of Atlantis and all of the surface world. Like, yes, not even all of Atlantis, but all of the surface world as well. Because this thing was forged by, AquaMan, the guy who, with just powerful blows from his fist, one blow from his fist, sunk, a good portion of Atlantis. Basically, a good unified portion of Atlantis that was unified with the surface world was sunk just from one punch by Atlan. Yeah, that's how powerful Atlan was. He, sunk a good half portion of Atlantis, and that was the half portion that was actually originally unified with the surface world. And he didn't even need to, use the Trident of Poseidon. But, he was the one who made it. That's how powerful he was. He could create a trident that was, the most powerful weapon of all existence. No weapon before, after, or current would be ever stronger than it. That's how powerful the Trident of Poseidon is. That's his trident, that's his weapon, that's, his big balls creation. Basically, it would be passed down, king after king is how Atlan had it. Only a true king could have a true unifying king, to unify the two worlds, could have the trident. And basically, she just ended up with it because of the fact that the current king was slaughtered. And so one day she just ended up with it in her possession. She had no idea until she remembered the prophecy about, only a king being able to wield it. And so basically she's just stuck with it, unable to do anything with it, until, the next king of, unification of the two worlds, the surface world and Atlantis. Which, it's going to take a lot of unification, considering how much land Atlan destroyed with just one punch. With one strike, not even needing to use a trident at all. Just one strike, and he freaking destroyed, the unified portion of Atlantis. I don't know what his plan was, but he sure did something with it. And basically, over time, it's kind of just been this thing where Aizawa and Akira have both been in this funk, and so, All Might one day is just what a better way to get them out of the funk, their funk, than to unify them. I mean, if you think about it, Aizawa is a surface dweller, and Akira is a dweller of Atlantis. So if they were to unify them in, some sort of marriage or something of the sort, like, unify them in some way, that would unify the two halves, and finally someone eventually would be able to wield the Trident of Poseidon. And the crazy things that thing can allow you to do, it can even, but only if you're in water, but still, it can even allow you to teleport, but only if you're in water, but still, it can allow you to teleport. I mean, that's freaking insane. And, like, even, like, if you become king, like, you can, like, mess with people's heads, but only to a certain extent. Like, give, like, someone a headache or a seizure, or even if you're good enough, or, like, the person is weak enough, you can, like, mess with their heads, like, complete, like, total, like, control over them. Like, complete and total mind control. Or, like, if you're not, you can just give them a headache or a seizure. But that's still pretty crazy. And, like, if you're in water, like I said, you can freaking teleport. And you can even create, like, barriers and shit. And, like, you can control, like, water, wind, and lightning. Like, yeah, it's not just water, but wind and lightning as well. With the freaking Staff of Poseidon. Like, Staff of Poseidon is like the Staff of Neptune, only you can freaking teleport. Is from what I know. From what I know, it's kind of like, it's like the Staff of Neptune, only you can teleport. As well. So it's like, you have an add-on as well, so... It's like the Staff of Neptune, but better. And, you know, that's just crazy. That is, like, absolutely balls off the walls crazy. And, well, basically, eventually, the two kind of just can't avoid it. Like, Aizawa, you know, with all of his funk that he's in, you know, eventually, like, All Might and freaking Midnight and Nesu and everybody else, they don't even have to do anything. Because eventually, you know, he just comes up to Akira, and Akira is just, like, in her own funk, and basically, Aizawa was just like, look, Akira, we're not going to be able to do anything or get out of anything, any of this funk, if we don't, you know, like, decide to do something with our lives. Yeah, even I'm a grown up enough man, like, in my close to, like, somewhere like around 30s or 40s, grown up enough man to admit that if we don't do anything about this, we're going to be stuck like this for the rest of our lives. So, you know, if we don't do something, I'm not saying it has to be a big something, but if we don't do something, we are going to be stuck like this forever. And I cannot do that. I mean, I am a man of very little action, but I just can't picture myself being stuck like this forever. I'd rather do some very dark things than be stuck like this forever. And I can't, you know, picture myself, like, just abandoning everything for, like, a different type of ship entirely just because I couldn't deal with my own problems. So, I don't know what you're planning to do, but I can't deal with this anymore. I can't. I don't know how you plan to deal with your problems, but I'm not gonna stay in this funk. I can't stay in this funk. Or else I'll do some things that I'll regret, and I cannot have that on my conscience, I cannot have that on my shoulders, I cannot have that on the conscience and the shoulders of my friends, because then we really wouldn't be friends. What I'm trying to say is, and the cure would just be like, shh, I know. And then Aizawa would be like, what do you mean you? And then Akira would just be like, because I feel the same way. And, basically that just seals the deal right there. They both felt the same way. They both were planning on, telling the other that they can't stay in the same way. They can't stay in the same funk forever because they can't see themselves doing what they would do if they stayed in the same funk forever. And a lot of other things as well, but that's kind of the main reason. And now that they're kind of out of the funk, they kind of really don't know what to do still. They're kind of still, lost for really what to do. I mean, Akira may be pissed about the whole her dad being murdered because of Atlantean mutiny. She may be still pissed about that, but, you didn't think she was just sad. No, she was pissed. She had all sorts of emotions coursing through her veins. She may still be pissed about it, but she's not stupid. The person who had killed her father had people backing him up. Had people, on his side. And plus, she isn't really all that much of a warrior. She's more of a stay-at-home wife type of Atlantean. She wasn't the type to, go out into battle. She wasn't that type at all. She could be a teacher, but not like the, Atlantean warrior type of teacher. Not that type at all. And so, they're just wondering, what are they gonna do? And if you're wondering even how, Akira would even get onto any type of shore, Japan is an island. For those of you that don't know, or a series of islands, Japan is either an island or a series of islands, like an archipelago. For those of you that are gonna say that my logic is flawed, Japan is a freaking island or archipelago, or it's one of those. So it's totally possible that this could happen. Basically, yeah. This is in every sense of the word plausible for, all of this to happen. And basically, what Akira says is, because Aizawa has no Atlantean blood in him, and, well, she's not really a warrior, that their son, because, Aizawa has given her the looks in the past, and Akira's given him looks in the past. They can't really deny it. They like each other. It's kind of like that thing where you can say you don't all you want, but once you've given your, the significant other the look, or the looks, more than one look, once you've done that, there's no going back. It's like that saying, once you go over, you can't go back. And basically, yeah, that's the whole thing. Aizawa knows this, and he has to break this to his friends, he doesn't have Atlantean blood, and will basically Akira isn't really trained to be an Atlantean warrior, so their son, because eventually it was going to happen, I mean, for those of, like, his friends that didn't already catch on that it was eventually going to happen, I mean, like, what are you smoking? And plus, as I was okay with it, like, whatever he has to do, like, he's been through a lot of hardships, so if he had to do some things in order to keep some balance, like, Aizawa's been through the ringer already, so he's going to have his own hardships that he's gonna still have to face. And with him, he's already done that, he's already been through the ringer, so it's just like another thing for him. But he's not all that sure about parenting. He's sure about the whole training, but he's not really sure about the parenting part. He just doesn't know how he's gonna do that. And basically, All Might and like everybody else is just like, well, just move further inland. Like, you're just so far out, sure, that it's kind of like island going. So, like, you're like further out to sea. Like, if you were to go further inland, like, a lot of things would be different. And, all that. Plus, there's still a lot of water around. Like, Akira wouldn't be in danger. She could still be absorbent as ever. I mean, it's still an island, or series of islands. Japan is. And so eventually it does happen. Everything is discussed. But Akira also says that she's going to have to find a safe place to hide the staff. Like, not really the staff, the Trident of Poseidon. Until, like, the day in which, like, the sun is trained and everything happens. Until that day, like, the Trident of Poseidon is going to have to be hidden. But Izuku's still going to be able to talk to fish, and he's still going to be able to do all that other stuff. And he's still going to be an amazing swimmer and, be able to not really hold his breath underwater because he can breathe underwater, eventually whenever he's born. And, that isn't too long after this because, not too long after, they get settled in and everything, and, they just have a good life as a family. It does end up happening. Akira does again end up getting pregnant. And so basically, actually for a while now, I've always kind of been in the mindset that since Akira's basically now she's the queen of Atlantis, that would make him the king, or at least for now, the king. And he doesn't really know how he feels about that. He'd just rather no one know about that. Because, he's one of those people who's constantly on the down low. He's more low-key. So, yeah, he's pretty much low-key on everything. Unless it, like, has to do with his family, like, protecting his family. Of course he would be more serious whenever it comes to those matters. And also doing his, like, job. And so, yeah. Basically, yeah. with Aizawa knowing that he's going to be a father, in a few, Aizawa has to basically contemplate on how he's going to do all this. Though he doesn't have much time to contemplate until it's finally time. And, Akira is like, Aizawa, I know this is crazy, but, basically whoever tried to kill my father, they probably already have, like, a good idea on where I am. Because, Atlantean magic shit, like, find a way to track me as long as I'm alive. They probably would find a way to do that as long as I was alive, so have this Trident of Poseidon, I kind of snuck it out while everything was going on, and I basically have it pierce me through, have it sheath me right through, in order to, but basically only do it after, Izuku was born, and got to look at the baby, but after all that happens, sheath me through with the freaking thing, just to kill me so that nobody can find us. Nobody can find, you and Izuku. Because that's the name that was decided. Izuku. And basically, as I was like, whoa, what? Ah, damn it, I can't lose you two. Please, Akira, please. There's another way we can do this. As I was panicking. He's panicking. And that's not something that he usually does. He's freaking the frick out. But it's already kind of too late. Akira's made up her mind, and whenever a woman makes up her mind, that's final. And, she was only doing it to, safe and secure, the future of Izuku and, her lady love Aizawa. Trying to save and secure their future. Because she could sense, the Atlantean magic, as long as she was alive, they'd be able to find where they were. Basically, where they were. And so, they kind of have to move again. Because Aizawa was paranoid now. And so that basically ends up with them moving to where, Enko and Mitsuki would have been in canon. So yeah, it's been a good deal of moving for Aizawa. He's kind of never really gotten all that much time to rest. Like R&R, that whole deal. But eventually, by the time that Izuku becomes 5, and he has made a friend in this Katsuki Bakugo. Basically, they both go to the quirk doctor, and Aizawa really doesn't know what, the quirk doctor's going to think about whatever the hell kind of power or no power Izuku would have. Literally being the future king of Atlantis. Because, eventually he's going to, go above, because he's not going to be the prince for long. After everything is sorted out, because Aizawa has no interest in being the king. He's only, being anything like King of Atlantis because if he isn't, the guy who killed the original king is just going to rain down hell upon all of Atlantis and all of the surface world. And, Aizawa can't have that. It would be a disservice to Akira. It would be a disservice to, all of the people of the surface world and all the people of Atlantis that don't like this guy, that hate him. Jesus Christ. It would be a big disservice, is what I'm trying to say. To a lot of people. Jesus. Christ almighty. He's only really doing this because, if he didn't do it, it would be a big disservice. Is, what's in his mind, why he's doing what he's doing. And so that's the only reason why, Aizawa is doing anything, remotely kingly for, anybody, the surface world, Atlantis, well, what have you, whatever's left of Atlantis that anybody can find. Which, it's a very well-hidden city. Only people of Atlantean blood or people that meant no harm to the city would be able to find it. Perfect no harm, were perfectly trusted, would be able to find the city. And also, only people of Atlantean blood as well. And that's why it's so damn hard to find. It's called the Lost City of Atlantis for a reason. Because they made it so damn hard to find. And also because they thought Atlan destroyed most of the city. That's what the surface dwellers thought, is that Atlan had destroyed all of Atlantis whenever he only destroyed a little bit. Their connection to Atlantis. He only destroyed the connection, not the entire thing. And basically, at the age of 5, Bakugo shows off his quirk and all that. And then it's time for Izuku to show his quirk. And basically what he shows off, he shows all sorts of crazy shit. He shows off not only that he can breathe underwater, but that, he's near a pond whenever they're doing this. And there's some koi fish in the pond. And apparently something weird happens because it's almost like they can understand him. It's like he can legit talk to fish. Not only can he breathe underwater, but he can talk to fish. And, well, the quirk doctor doesn't know what else, but he theorizes that the quirk will evolve. And basically, Izuku's so ecstatic about what he can do. And actually, he becomes so ecstatic that he actually activates some of the powers that the Trident is supposed to grant through his own hands. Tiny lightning bolts and tiny waves of lightning, being able to project this stuff through his hands. Up through the ground or from the sky. Tiny lightning bolts from the sky, or waves of water through the ground, the moisture in the ground and in the air, and all sorts of shit from the air. So basically, he can cast all sorts of shit. He can cast water from moisture in the air and in the ground, and he can cast wind from in the middle of the freaking sky and in the middle of the air and everything, and also cast lightning down from the sky. But it's all mini version. He can't really do all that much, but he can still do it. And he can also breathe underwater, and he can even freaking talk to fish. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And well, the quirk doctor is thinking of letting Izuku name the quirk. And well, Aizawa doesn't really know what to think of it either, so he's just sure, Izuku, have at it. And they actually both get surprised by what Izuku decides to call it. He decides to call it King of the Sea. And this actually does get Aizawa to think that maybe he's ready. Maybe, even though he's only 5, maybe he's ready to see it at least. Maybe at least ready to see it. And so basically, they finish their visit, and, they go car ride home, and Izuku actually thinks that, his father is upset with him. But he couldn't be farther from the truth. Like, Aizawa is overjoyed. Like, he had no idea that Izuku would be this good at the age of freaking 5. And this actually, with the fact of the whole, like, being afraid that someone was going to come after them, this actually lifts a heavy weight off of Aizawa's shoulders. And, just gives him a lot more assurance that, him and Izuku are going to be okay from this Atlantean threat. That could have gone a lot worse had something of, been wrong. And basically, whenever they get there and everything, gets done, basically, Aizawa says he has a birthday gift for Izuku. And Izuku's like, well, at least he's not mad at me. At least I don't think so. I'm like, And, well, basically the birthday gift, it's this big case thing, but it's in wrapping paper and the bow, because, you always have to have the ribbon and the bow and the wrapping paper, basically, with your, gifts. And so, basically, Izuku just goes to town on all that shit. But first, you have to read, from Dad to Izuku. But, it's not just from Dad, it's from Mom and Dad. And that's something that's always, perked up Izuku's interest as well, because he never knew his mother. And that's basically something that Aizawa was like, come on. He's like, open the present first, then we'll talk about that. Basically, Izuku opens the present, he goes to town on the wrapping paper, just goes to town on it, and he sees this case, and, for some reason, he seems to know the combination automatically. And it's basically the year of his birth is the combination. It's a 4-number combination, and the combination is the year of his birth. And basically, it opens with a little click, and basically what he sees is this trident. And basically, Aizawa tells him this is the Trident of Poseidon, the most powerful, not just trident, but the most powerful weapon ever created by King Atlan, the first ever king of Atlantis. And, Aizawa was saying it with so much sincerity that Izuku has to take it as the truth. And basically the whole thing about his mother is basically why, he wanted him to wait until he had opened it. Basically, he tells him his mother's name was Akira, and that she was an Atlantean. And basically, Aizawa was human, so that makes him half Atlantean, half human. And that not only that, but that she was the Atlantean princess. Making, seeing as, she was, basically she died, that would, make Aizawa a certain something, but that would also make Izuku a certain something. That would make him the new Atlantean prince. He's the Prince of Atlantis, is what Izuku is. And soon, he will be ready to wield the Trident of Poseidon, the most powerful weapon to ever be made. ever in existence. And he, Aizawa even goes into further detail about what he will be able to do. Like the mind screwery, the teleportation, and all the other shit that he'll be able to do. And the fact that the powers he already has will be improved once he has the Trident. It's just, he has to be trained first before he can be given the privileges of having the Trident. It's very important, so, Aizawa has to know that he's ready. And, Izuku is soaking all of this knowledge up like a sponge. And, he understands that if he wasn't ready, then it wouldn't work. So, he understands that he has to be ready, because if he's gonna be the Prince of Atlantis and hold, the most powerful weapon ever. So, yeah, those are big shoes to fill, so Izuku understands wholeheartedly. And so, just for now, he's going to have his quirk, Prince of the Sea. Because technically he isn't wrong in saying Prince of the Sea, because that's technically what AquaMan is. And this what if is going to be where Izuku is Aquaman, so yeah, basically there's that. And then the next day of school is basically the last day of middle school, and basically everyone is talking about what their quirks are. And basically, Bakugo, everyone is flipping their shit about Bakugo's quirk. And everybody is just like, whenever Izuku comes into the room, everybody is like, well, what's your quirk, Izuku? I bet it's not as good as Bakugo's. Everybody's just feeding into Bakugo's ego. However, that quickly stops as soon as, Izuku's allowed to show his stuff. And even say the name of his quirk. That the name of his quirk... Oh, by the way, he was also told by Aizawa that he can freaking summon eventually once he gets the privilege of, being able to use the Trident, he'll be able to summon it at will. Like freaking Mjolnir. And like the Leviathan axe from God of War 4. But, he knows that, but he's not gonna say that. There's some things that he knows that he can't, it's not really that he doesn't, it's not really that he can't say, but that he just doesn't want to say. That mortal ears aren't supposed to be able to hear yet. And Izuku just can't wait for the surprise on Bakugo's face. Basically, he makes people wait, and then finally he's like, okay, I'll tell you. But you gotta know, I'm not shedding you. He's like, you gotta know, I'm telling you the truth. Everything that I'm about to tell you is 100% true. It's just, seeing as I just now got it, things are a little unstable, so I can't use, the entire quirk all the way. And basically, the children are understanding enough, they know that that's kind of how quirks work, that you just don't become the master of your quirk automatically. There are some things that need to be ironed out. There are some kinks in the armor that need to be ironed out. And it even works that way with Bakugo's quirk, even though he doesn't want to admit it. His quirk is basically called Master of the Sea. And basically, Izuku's like naming off all these different things. And, well, Bakugo's like, bullshit. And, well, Izuku's like, oh, you wanna see? Like, even though, like, the powers aren't fully developed, it's not like he can't use any of them, and not to any capability. He can still use them, and he can still use them to a certain capability. You know, even enough to put Bakugo in his place. You know, the dude wants to tango with the freaking Prince of Atlantis, he can get his ass whooped. You know, future King of Atlantis, he can get his ass whooped. And basically, Bakugo's, like, thinking that he's the best, and so he goes straight to try to blow Izuku's face off, like, in the middle of the playground. Not really a playground. But, like, in the middle of somewhere, and he goes to try to blow Izuku's face off, and he basically just, like, water gets wrapped around him, and he gets sent up in the air, and then sent back down by a pulse of water. It's, like, in the middle of the air. And basically, like, Bakugo has no idea what the hell that was. And then, freaking Izuku gets, like, he does, like, some sort of avatar of air bullshit. Like, blasts him back with, like, a pulse of air. And then, you know, he starts striking him down with, like, lightning from, like, his fingertips. That, like, it gets freaking supercharged by the water that's already on him. And, like, the people are like, wait, I thought you said your thing was Master of the Sea. And basically, Izuku has to go into deeper detail because he used more than one of his powers. And then everyone starts to understand why it's called the Master of the Sea. Because it has all these different powers. And because he's able to use them in the way that he's able to use them. And that soon he'll be even stronger. Maybe even with the power of Poseidon. And, you know, Bakugo's ego is just taking hit after hit. And, you know, Bakugo is just like, screw you guys, I'm going home. Just like Cartman. He just like Cartman's his way out of there. Even though he knows what Izuku's saying is true. He just can't accept it. So he just Cartman's his way out of there. And, well, basically, that's pretty much that. Any sort of thing with a sludge villain, basically, the sludge villain would get slapped both times. So, All Might really wouldn't be needed. And, well, basically, in terms of training for, like, the 10 months, that's training that he would also do with his father because of how urgent the situation actually is. You know, Aizawa would also do training with him. And his powers would become more refined as they went along. And this will just get crazier and crazier. And eventually it would become time for the UA entrance exam. With Aizawa really not knowing if Izuku's ready yet. I mean, Izuku's got the stuff, sure, but is he truly ready for what he's gonna have coming for him if he actually does graduate and the exam thing? If he truly does, like, pass the exam, is he truly gonna be ready? Is Aizawa's worries. You know, if he's gonna be ready for what's ahead. He's not ready about his whole thing on the exam. He's pretty sure he can do that. He's just worried about what comes ahead. What's gonna come ahead of all this. And that's basically part 1. Because I think that's everything you need to cover in part 1. So yeah, basically, the end of the is because Dark Shadow Maverick is OT out of here, you boys. Like, favorite, subscribe. Something in the comments section. Click that little bell. Bounce like a squidge in my blue suede shoes. Eat and I'll eat. Misdirection. Yes, finally did it. Dasses.